All right. Thank you for jumping onto this webinar, High Probability Selling for Real Estate Agents. This webinar is going to teach you how to create a predictable and consistent real estate practice without breaking the bank. Without breaking the bank is important because there's so many things thrown at you as a new real estate agent. Even if you've been in the real estate business for quite some time, um, it is definitely something that you've got a ton of stuff being thrown at you all at once. So this is the webinar that will help you to start that business up, get doing stuff right away. And from here, you'll be able to do that from day one. So high probability selling for real estate agents. If you've joined this webinar before, this is going to be pretty much the same information that you heard last time. I'm doing this for 8 weeks to see if there's some sort of traction that can be built, if agents are interested in learning about this and learning about this way of doing business. And if you are here for a second or a third time, or even if it's your first time, I would love to get your feedback afterwards and let me know what can be done better, what was done well, and if you liked it, share the link out, share it with other agents, and invite them to join as well. So let's get started. So 87% of agents fail in real estate. I'm just going to start off with that. They don't tell you that in any of the classes that you take. You take your test, you go through all the courses, and you get everything all set up. Nobody tells you that there's an 87% chance that you're going to fail. The reason why is because the overall lack of awareness that real estate is, in fact, a sales business. The classes don't teach you how to generate leads and to actually run a business profitably. So, in this webinar, I want to give you a framework to follow that will set you up for success. The bottom line is, I don't want you to be a statistic. I don't want you to be that 87%. What we're going to go over is the number one lead source to build your listing business off of, the exact script to use when reaching out and following up, and then tools to find leads, follow up, and keep in contact. So you're going to get everything, almost like a business in a box, including links and the exact cost that it'll cost you on a yearly basis in order to develop a business. Now, myself, I continue to do this on a daily basis, and it's helped me generate leads every single day to where I know exactly where my business is coming from at any given time, and I can schedule out listings. So please make sure take notes. This deck will be sent out at the end of the webinar as well, so you can go back and reference this. But definitely pay attention, because if you choose to do your business this way, you will be profitable and you will be able to get listings pretty much on demand. All right, so as a real estate agent, your business should be built around customer acquisition and customer retention. Acquisition is what you do to find new leads to add to your database. Retention is what you do to keep them. This should be a part of your daily routine and schedule to make sure you always have your pipeline full. The next few slides, I'll share with you the number one lead source to fill your pipeline with new listing leads every single day. All right, here comes the big reveal. Absentee owners. So, I don't know if you know this, but approximately 15% of all closing volume in any market comes from absentee owners. That's any market. Whether you specialize in condos, specialize in luxury, specialize in a certain area, doesn't matter. 15% of all closing volume in any market comes from absentee owners. Absentee owners are people that own properties that are not their primary residence. So these can be investment properties, they can be inherited, it can be couples going through divorce and they needed to move out, and they're working on and they need to get the house sold. So there's always something going on with absentee owners. There's always new absentee owners in your market. So the list that you develop can always be updated. And you can call these people over and over again because their circumstances can oftentimes change. So I'm going to share with you the scripts and everything that you can do in order to reach out to these owners and really get their attention and understand exactly what it is that you need to do in order to get them to potentially list with you down in the future. So how do you reach out? Well, A lot of people hate when I say this, but you're going to call them. Yes, this is a cold call. And yes, this is a webinar about cold calling, but you're not cold calling just random people off of a list or out of the yellow pages. You're calling people that have a property that can potentially have a problem that you can solve. So much like expired listings, much like for sale by owners, these are both the quote unquote low hanging fruit that people have told you to reach out to when you first get your real estate license to get right now business. When in actuality, there's no such thing as right now business. When you're reaching out to these people, what you're doing is you're finding out if there's a potential for you to help them down the line. Now, a lot of times with absentee owners, if it's a rental property, there's leases in place and there's things going on, especially now with COVID and the different rules and regulations around tenant rights and things like that, that will allow you to speak to these people, get an understanding of when their leases are up, and you can schedule out your listings, months in advance. So for right now, for example, I have listings that are scheduled out for June, for July, and even some in August right now. But as I keep calling, I keep on scheduling listings out further and further into the year. So that way it becomes that consistent and predictable income. So we're going to call them. Here's exactly what we're going to say. This is the script that I use every single day. And it's a script that works. It keeps things light. It doesn't pressure the prospect, and it gets them to give you some information. So here's what I would say here. Hi, my name is Blake. I'm a local real estate agent. I'm going to pause right here. You say I'm a local real estate agent. The reason why you don't use your company name is because your company name may not tell them exactly what it is that you do. The one thing about these absentee owners is that they're getting called by investors, wholesalers, and iBuyers even to buy these properties because people think or they feel like they can get these properties for pennies on a dollar. Some of those properties, some of those cases might be true. You might come across some that have been abandoned for a while or vacant, and it's a property that just pretty much needs to be bulldozed. However, what I found is that a majority of these properties are really nice properties, really nice townhouses, really nice starter homes. Some homes in the 400s to $500,000 range, depending on the circumstances, that you can really get some really good listings from and really get listings that are in demand right now. So I always say I'm a local real estate agent because that separates me from all the investors that are calling and hounding them to purchase their home. I want them to know that I'm not calling to buy their house. I'm calling to offer them a service to get their home sold. So, hi, my name is Blake. I'm a local real estate agent. I have you listed as the owner of a house on Main Street. Is that right? Make sure you pause here. Make sure that you speak clearly. Don't speak too fast. Make sure that they understand the question. Is that right? Oftentimes, a lot of people, they won't lie to you about whether or not they own the house. They'll either say yes or no. I love to have a yes or no question here because it'll allow them to allow you to move forward in your script. If somebody says no here, it's very easy, very simple. We always accept no as an answer. Overcoming objections does not exist. When the prospect says no, we temporarily disqualify them. In this case, if they're saying no, they aren't the owner of the property, what we're going to do is we're going to say, thank you so much. I'll update my information. Wait for them to say bye, and then you hang up the phone. Easy as that. Easy as that. Move on to the next call. If they say yes, you're going to move on. Okay, I'm sure you get a lot of calls about this house, so I'll be brief. I wanted to find out if you consider selling the property if it made sense for you. Again, you're going to wait here. You want to pause. Make sure you're not moving too fast. You want to wait for the yes or no answer. Here's the answers that I get most often. Nope. And then they hang up. No, I'll never sell this property. It's going to be handed down to my kids, my grandkids. It's going to stay in the family. They'll say, no, not at this time. I'll give you the answers to some of those. If somebody just says no, what do? We always accept no as an answer. Overcoming objections does not exist. When the prospect says no, we temporarily disqualify them. Prospect says no, it doesn't make sense for me to sell. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Wait for them to say bye, and then you hang up the phone. Very easy. You're not going to convince anyone to sell their home unless they're ready to sell their home. They'll tell you. If somebody says, no, I'm going to keep it in the family, I'm going to keep it forever, you say, great. That sounds like a plan. That sounds like a really good plan. In my personal belief, I always believe in buying and holding on to property forever. So I would say something like this. No, I'm planning on holding on to that property forever. That's an amazing plan. Hope it all works out for you. If anything changes, please feel free to reach out to me. Say thank you for your time, wait for them to say goodbye, and then you hang up. Reason why you wait for them to say goodbye is because you don't want to be the one hanging up on them. Now, they might just go ahead and hang up on you. They might say no and just click. That's fine. You move on to the next call. There's other people that you can call. But if they're on the phone and they're being nice, halfway decent to you, they say bye, you say bye, you hang up the phone, you part ways. Part of the follow up here, the reason why I say you can reach out to me at any time is because anybody that I get at least this far with in the script, they're going to get a thank you note from me after the call when I'm done. So I send out a thank you card with my business card in there, and they can reach out to me anytime. All right. If they say yes, and you get at least 3 people every hour that you call that will say yes, if it made sense for you, they're going to say yes in a bunch of different ways. I've had people just say, yes, I am thinking about selling it. Okay, great. Some people will say, yes, if it made sense for me, if I got the right price. Yeah, I'll think about selling it. You want to get a little bit more information there. You say, all right, is this property rented or is it vacant right now? Okay, sounds good. All right. So you get that information from them. Then you move on. Okay, would you like me to provide you with a valuation to see if the numbers make sense? If somebody says yes, what they're looking for is they want to know what they can get for the property. They want to know what their bottom line is going to be. If they have a mortgage on the property, they want to know what they'll walk away with. They want to know what the market is like in that area, so you can provide that for them. If they say sure or yes, you just let them know, okay, I'll prepare a valuation report for you today and email it to you. What's your best email address to send it to? Getting their email is key. You want to be able to send that the CMA over to them right away, or at least the same day. I get it to them that evening. And then you'll be able to use that email to follow up. Of course, you're going to give them a call a couple of days later, but you can also use that email to follow up. And I'll show you exactly what to do to follow up with relevant information for them so that you stay top of mind. All right. They'll give you your email. You say, got it. I'll put that together for you. If the numbers make sense, I'll give you a call in a couple of days and we can discuss how I can help you get the property sold. And that's it. And then you can move on. All right. You move on to the next call. That right there is what I would consider to be a hot lead. The reason why I call it a hot lead is because oftentimes these people are ready to sell within the next 3, 6, maybe even a year. And if you get them to sell in the next year, then there you have it. You've got a deal. Now that you're here, the follow-up. Once you send that CMA, you want to put on your calendar or in your CRM. I use a dialer, and I'll walk you through all the tools that I use and show you them the dialer that I use in order to follow up with people. But basically, when you follow up 2 days later, after you send that CMA, you follow up, you say, hey, this is Blake. We spoke a couple of days ago about your home here in, I could say Minneapolis, whatever city it is, the information you'll have in front of you. And I sent you a valuation. Has anything changed since the last time we spoke? And you're going to wait there again. You know what? That valuation wasn't quite what I was thinking. I get that sometimes. Some people think that their home is worth more. Um, a lot of people feel like they are the experts. They've looked on Zillow, they've looked at their Zestimates, they've looked at their online recordings or their online valuations, and they feel like their house is worth so much more than what you have there. Keep in mind as well, you want to be open-minded. Oftentimes, when I send over the CMA, I send over a price range. The valuation isn't necessarily the exact valuation. It's a price range. The reason I do that is because we're doing these sight unseen. I'm not going out to look at the property and do a walkthrough and do a full walkthrough that way. You can, however, do a drive-by. Go look at the property, go see the area, see where it's situated. You can see if there's differences between some of the properties that are done, and you can use your afternoons to do that. If you get too busy, however, I find that that's not always possible, and we need to be realistic. Also, if the properties are all over the place and you've called properties that are, 10, 15 miles from you, 30 miles from you, and you've got to drive 45 minutes to an hour or something like that to get over there and just do a drive-by, it may not be worth it. So a lot of times what I do is I look up the tax records and the property records and look up properties that have sold in the last year in order to get my valuation range. So if they say, yeah, the valuation looks good. What are the next steps? What can I do to get it sold? What you need to do is right then and there, you don't want to start selling. Resist the urge to start selling. What you want to do is say, would you like to schedule a conference call to discuss the process to get the home sold? Now you can set up a situation where it's either a Zoom call or it's a separate call where you dedicate that time to them to answer any questions that they have and go through your full marketing plan for getting the home sold. All right. 1 week after following up, if there hasn't been an appointment set, you're going to set them up on a home beat in Cloud CMA to be sent monthly. That's one of my tools that I use, Cloud CMA. That's what I use to create all of my CMAs that I send out because it makes it really easy. It's a really professional report that is sent out. Okay. Now let's get into the framework. So you have your scripts, you have the leads that you're going to be using. What you want to do is build a list of 3,500 to 4,000 properties. That sounds like a lot, but it's really easy to do. You'll find that there's a lot more absentee owners in your market than you actually think there are. So 3,500 to 4,000 properties. What that does is in my dialer, I have a single line dialer that I use that allows me to dial 100 numbers in an hour. So when dialing 100 numbers a day, I only call for an hour a day. When dialing 100 numbers a day, this will have you reaching out to people every other month with the same script. You can use the same script because oftentimes they're going to get so many calls. At least what I've heard from people on the phone when I ask them, when I say that they've been getting a ton of calls, they'll usually tell me, yeah, I get at least one or two a week. So if you're calling every other month or so and they've gotten one or two calls a week from other people, they're not necessarily going to remember who you are, what you said. So you're going to use the exact same script every time you call. Keep it simple, keep it easy. That's how you can be consistent. Set an appointment with yourself to dial for an hour a day. I try to make my calls between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. every single day. That's not because that's the best time to necessarily call, but that's the time that works for me. These aren't prospects that are like time sensitive, like an expired or for sale by owner where you want to be the first one to call. These people have been called before. They've been called over and over again. What you want to do is you want to call them and you want to be different. You want to offer the solution. You want to give them something different. Guarantee you nobody's calling to offer them a valuation and give them a plan to get the property sold. The majority of people that are calling these lists are investors. They're people looking to flip the property or buy the property to rent it out. So they're not going to get them full price. And a lot of times people want the most for their property. That's what they want. It's just the bottom line. Set a separate appointment with yourself to prepare CMAs and follow up. So what I'll do is I'll set my appointment for myself. I have it on my calendar from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. to prospect absentee owners. That's what I do. That's what I do for that hour. I call, I turn off all my notifications, silence my phone, log into my dialer, and I make those calls for an hour. Sometimes it's even recorded on YouTube. I'll do it live. And you can go check out those videos on my YouTube channel. What I do then is I'll set a separate appointment to put the CMAs together. Usually that's around 5, 6 o'clock in the evening when I'll sit down and do that, and I can send out each one. Usually I'll get 3 a day, so I'll be doing 3 CMAs every day. Takes me about an hour to do them all, so 1 hour total to do 3 CMAs because I'm using Cloud CMA, and it's kind of pulling everything together for me. And then I send out the email with a simple message to let them know that it's been sent. And that's even a template for me. So I make that really quick and really easy. I utilize Cloud CMA to create the CMAs quickly. And then I utilize Homebeat to automate my monthly report to send to prospects. The reason why it's set to monthly, well, for one, that's the highest frequency that you can send a Homebeat. But at the same time, again, oftentimes when you're reaching out to these folks, you're going to be listing their properties maybe 3, 4 months down the line. So that's something that you have to think about. This is considered quote unquote right now business, but you're going to see the results of this after 90 days of getting those calls. You'll start to see the compound effect of what you're doing, and you'll see people will either start to call you back and say, hey, you gave me a call. I want to list my property now. I've been getting your emails. or you'll be following up with these people and they'll get it, and you'll set that appointment and you'll actually schedule it out, get their listing paperwork signed, and keep in contact with them that way. So this is your daily framework that honestly gives you about 3 hours a day for business building. What other business can you say that you can work 3 hours a day and build a really, really solid business? When I say a solid business, yes, it's absolutely possible for you to develop a six-figure income off of just doing this alone. Now, this isn't the only thing that you can be doing. There's social media, there's online advertising, there's things like that that you definitely can be doing. But this will give you the opportunity to sit down today, talk to somebody, and get a listing. Period, point blank. All right. Here are the tools that I use, and I can show you these as well. I'm just going to open up a few of them. But basically, to get my absentee leads, there's a couple of things you can do. I use Absentee Lead Shop, the share group. They're an amazing, amazing company. Pretty soon here, I'm going to have a branded site that I can share these leads with you. So please stay tuned. As a webinar attendee, you will get access to that to go and purchase your lists from that website. And I'll be able to provide that to you. But this is the site that I use, the share group. It's very accurate. They give you the property address, the owner's mailing address, and they also give you cell phones, landlines, and email addresses. And they're pretty damn accurate. I would say so myself. The one that would be completely free, and I'm putting that in air quotes as well, because it comes with, here in Minneapolis with North Star MLS, we now have access to Remine, which is a data aggregation site that you can use to pull absentee owners as well. I find that I don't get as many leads. What I mean by that is I don't get as many leads with accurate contact information when I pull a list from there. But I have done it and it does work. And if you want to get started like right away, like right now, you can go into the MLS, go to Remine, and you can create a list of absentee owners in a certain zip code, certain area, and things like that. When I did it on Remine, I narrowed it down to out-of-state absentee owners. I find that the out-of-state absentee owners, oftentimes, they're a little bit too far away to manage their property, and you're able to speak to them a little bit more clearly about what it is that you want to do, and there's higher potential for them to say yes. The dialer I use is Prospect Boss. It's $129 a month for the single line dialer. Very, very valuable. I say it's worth the investment of $129 a month. I've tried to hand dial these leads. The list was so long, however, that I just found I wasn't getting through it quick enough for how often I wanted to contact these people. And it's really easy to get distracted when you're hand dialing. With the dialer, I can set it so that it rings their phone only 3 times, and then it moves right on to the next. It doesn't give me a chance to get distracted in between calls. So for that hour, I'm logged into the dialer and I'm dialing. It also allows me to save their email address if they have a different email address. You can send email campaigns. You can send text message campaigns. You can do ringless voicemail drops. You can do all sorts of stuff with that dialer. So that too is almost like a business in a box in and of itself. Cloud Agent Suite is $500 for the entire year. Very well worth it. You can use it for all of your CMAs, not just the ones for absentee owners. You can use it for all of them. And once you do that with North Star MLS, when you pay for that, you actually get a button that becomes live when you're doing your CMAs in the MLS, where you can transfer the information over to Cloud Agent Suite and add it to one of the reports that they do. And last but certainly not least is Dubb video, emails, and message. So video is kind of the wave of the future, I believe. It's almost better than leaving voicemails. You can drop a video message into somebody's email. You can also do it as a text message to somebody. But when they see the video, they see your face, they connect with you, and it's a connection that they make. It's a much more personal way to stand out and get that lead's attention. So as you're doing that, and as you're using Dubb, you'll find that you can create a video message on a page that has a call to action to it. So you can have them schedule an appointment directly from there, visit your website, download something. You'll see it when I send out the thank you for joining the webinar email after this, and you can download this entire presentation that I'm sharing as well. So without further ado, let me share with you some of these tools that I use and show you how they work. Number one, this is the share group site. Here's what you can do. Search absentee owners near you. Search and add your zip codes, confirm, update, verify your leads, download your list, and start prospecting. Really, really easy. Search leads in your market. Once you go to it, you can find, as you can see, they've got all these states. You see all the reds and blues and all that. You see how many absentee owners there are out there. And you can do this any state, anywhere. You can start prospecting. Here's what I got. And this is still in beta mode, something that's not out there. So like I said, once this all rolls out, I'm going to have my own site that'll allow you to go in, pull your records, and you can do this for any of these zip codes that you have. You can narrow it down. You can narrow it down to the zip codes. You know, there are zip codes in Minneapolis, St. Paul. If you're a condo specialist, if you're doing things like that, and it also gives you the price for the records that you can get. Really easy, really affordable, way better than buying leads from, let's say, a Zillow or something like that. Okay. The next one, my dialer campaign here with Prospect Boss. And let me get back to it. So I've got my campaign here. Go into your calling campaigns, and I can do a separate video, or when you call into the call after this, we can go through what it means to work with this dialer. But as you can see, I've got about 3,400 leads here. I just recently started this over, so I've got 6 new leads. I've been kind of slow and inconsistent with my calls lately, or at least over the past couple of weeks, to be honest with you. So I haven't been getting as many because I've gotten pretty busy here. But every time I sit down and I do it, I get leads. So I've got 6 leads going here. All I have to do is press play, get connected, and it'll start dialing those lines. It'll ring them 3 times, and I can get through 100 calls in an hour. Hugely valuable, keeps you focused, and keeps you going forward the entire time. What is next? Cloud Agent Suite. Just give me a moment to pull that one up. All right, so this is Cloud CMA. It's an amazing thing. So here is one that I created, or that was actually created. So I have a new listing that's coming on the market, and that seller went on to my website and asked for a home valuation, and this is what they ended up getting. This isn't the one that I send out necessarily, but you can see what it does for them just automatically. So this is a seller that created this, right? And he went in, gives them all this information, pulls up the leads, the houses that are all around them, goes in and tells them what the sold listings and what the average prices are. And it even gives him his range. Okay. Tells him a suggested list price. And gives him all this information. So this is exactly what you want to do. And this is stuff that I put in there. These are custom pages that I put in there to share with him what I do to market the home. But he was able to go in and create this on his own and actually was able to get this full report out. So as you're going in and you enter your information, you'll be able to do this exact same thing and do it the exact same way. The other thing I want to share with you is the home beat and show you what that looks like. So these home beats are what I do to pull everything together. I did one on my home just for to be able to share with you guys as an example. And it pulls this up. Okay, pulls up what's sold all around my house. So it gives them a good idea of what the market is doing all around them. right? Now, I didn't do it where I went in and I specified that I only want single family homes and things like that, just because I wanted to show you that. But you can do that here in the sub property type. You can say, so I use Dubb to send a lot of different emails. I send them for, if I'm working with a client, I send them for updates. I like to use the video functionality because it's like them seeing me and giving them that exact update. Instead of just sending a boring email with just text with a long list of things to do, you can actually talk to the person right there. Use your webcam, use your phone, and you can say, hey, here's what's happening. When I first get a listing, I send them a thank you email saying, thank you for the listing. This is in video form. Thank you for the listing. I want to let you know that I'm going to do everything that I can to get your home sold and meet the expectations that you have of me. Click the link below to email me any questions that you have. And I usually send a call to action to email or text me. They can do either one. Some other ones that I send, I use Dubb to keep up with my sphere of influence. This is what I do for customer retention, which is both the home beat and the video emails. I send a quarterly video email, spring updates, fall updates, and things like that. Things to do with their home, turning the water on, shutting the water off, things like that. So I will share with you what that looks like. Keep in contact with your sphere. If you choose to use video, you don't have to use video, of course. It's just how I choose to do it, and I find it to be very effective. So I've got a YouTube channel where I create videos and I use those as well. If it's one that I feel like would be beneficial to my sphere of influence, I'll send it out. So for example, I sent out this one. It's a YouTube video that I uploaded and I was able to do that. I sent this one off to a client just recently. Their offer was accepted, and I wanted to tell them what's next. So really quick, I will let me make sure that I've got my sound going for you guys. I'll share with you what this looks like, and you can see what the video page looks like too. So I created it. Here's what the video page will look like to the person receiving it. Offer accepted. I put in here to schedule your inspection because that was the next step. They had an inspection contingency. When they click on schedule your inspection, it goes directly to the vendor that I use to schedule inspections, right? But before they do that, they can listen to this message. Your offer was accepted. That's awesome. Congratulations. Now we'll get to work to get you successfully closed. There are a couple of steps that we need to take in order to get you there. So here's what we'll do. Look out for a link from me that's going to request the earnest money from you electronically. Then the next step is going to be to schedule your inspection. I provided a link below that'll take you over to Inspect a Home's website where you can get your inspection scheduled. All right, so now what's next for you? So now that you've seen this webinar, basically the main point that I'm making here is I don't want you to be a statistic. I don't want you to be the 87% that fails. I want you to be able to walk away from this today, use the links and the tools that I provided to you, and start making calls and start getting business and feeling good and comfortable that you have business coming, because that's the only way that you will actually stay in business. Real estate is a very, very promising career. It's been good for me. I've been doing real estate for 14 years. When I started, I had no idea what to do. And it wasn't until I took a sales training for a job with Lifetime Fitness that I understood what sales was, and I realized how to apply that to my real estate business. And since then, I've been able to build a solid real estate practice and even open up my own brokerage, Wallace Realty Group, that I've done just recently, and wanted to start helping people this way through this webinar. So what's next? Find your list of absentee owners. I always suggest using the dialer to make things more efficient for you, but if you can't afford it up front, you can hand dial. When I first started, for about the first 3-4 months, I was hand dialing. When I closed my first deal, I went ahead and invested in the dialer. When I closed my second deal, that's when I was able to find my list broker and start buying those leads and making sure that I had the right leads for myself. And I always led with the money that was coming in from my business, because overhead to me is death. And I didn't want anything to get in the way of me building my business and operating in the red. I always want to operate in the black. You can start using my script, use your calls as practice. I don't do a lot of the role playing and things like that because there's never a perfect scenario. You're never going to be able to practice every scenario. Start making calls. That's where you'll get your practice. A lot of times when I get a rejection on the call, I'll use the time in between that call and the next call or the next person that answers to write down what I'll say or kind of go back in my head and think about what I would say the next time. But you always want to be thinking on your feet. Role playing, to me, you're practicing perfect scenarios that may or may not happen. Right? So just practice on the phone for an hour a day. You're making those calls, you're repeating the script over and over again. After that first week, you'll see how much more comfortable you are. Second week, third week, fourth week, as you start working through it, you'll get more and more comfortable. Any existing clients that you have, if you're a new agent, you may not be able to do this, but any existing clients that you have, set them up on home beats. Set them up on home beats to send out. You can send them out bi-monthly, you can send them out quarterly, but these are your existing clients. This is another way for you to stay in contact with them. If you send it out quarterly, they'll get that report, they'll see what's sold. They're not necessarily looking to move right away, and you don't want to be that person that's constantly calling them, asking for referrals and asking them to sell their house when they're just not ready. So you can set your existing clients up on home beats, but you're always going to set up your new clients, your new prospects up on home beats, and they'll be getting those monthly. And last but not least, join my weekly calls for more tips and information. I'll send you the invite after this webinar concludes, and you'll be able to join the website. It's from 10 to 11 a.m. Central Time on Saturdays, basically directly after this webinar. And of course, I look forward to being a resource to you in building your business. I also have a YouTube channel. I'll provide the link to that. You can check out some of the YouTube videos that I create where I give tips and tricks to real estate agents. I also create videos for buyers and sellers. And we'll talk about YouTube and videos and other marketing in the weekly calls, because cold calling isn't the end all tell all. I don't want you to be a statistic. Yes, you don't have to cold call forever. Cold calling is a means to an end. When you start off and you don't have the money to send out thousands of postcards and do things like that and pay thousands and thousands of dollars in advertising and marketing and things like that, these are the economical ways that you can start to build your business. And this is the short term. You want to go with the short game. You want to play the long game. The long game is marketing. The short game is prospecting. Short game gets you directly to the people that you want to talk to. And so this is one way to do it. This is one lead source, and this is the way that I've chosen to do it, and it works. So wherever you are, you can implement this, and you won't have that much competition.